From Adams Morgan to Anacostia Park, we all want safer neighborhoods. But what does real safety mean? Real safety means preventing crime before it happens. By having police work with communities to disrupt cycles of violence, by supporting families with stable housing, and providing more mental health and drug treatment. We know that adding more police and locking up more people doesn't make us safer. Real safety means investing in the things that help prevent crime. Learn more at Real Safety DC.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey family, listen, if you're like me, life gets crazy and hectic, and sometimes our body needs a little extra love. For years, I've been using something that has been a game changer for me, as well as recommending it to my clients. I'd like to introduce you to Vital Body. It is packed with 37 fruits and vegetables, 19 herbs and spices, prebiotics, 15 strands of probiotics, 21 different enzymes, and I'm telling you what, you get 100% of your daily dose of 21 vitamins and minerals straight from nature. This product contains no GMOs and it is vegan friendly. And here's the best thing, there are no artificial flavors. So if you're ready to kick off your vitality journey and you want to feel better daily, and if you're like me, you want a little extra sleep throughout the night, head on over to vitalbody.com/Monica. And because you are a member of the Black Women Amplified family, they are graciously giving us an extra 20% off of our order. Just use the code MONICA20. Get prepared. I can't wait for you to try it. Head on over to vitalbody.com/Monica and start your vitality journey today.
Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Black Women Amplified, the podcast. Your host, Monica Wisdom Tyson, brings you downloadable conversations that matter to women around the globe. We discuss all things Black girl magic, amplify our voices, and transform our challenges into triumphs. Monica calls on her league of extraordinary women to push our boundaries, share their expertise, and stories of personal transformation. Welcome your host of Black Women Amplified, Monica Wisdom Tyson.
As an award-winning television producer with The Today Show, she covered transformative stories shaping our understanding of humanity. From producing inside Obama's White House with Brian Williams to covering the aftermath of 9/11, Annette Freeman is a master storyteller who connects empathy and integrity throughout her work. Annette's personal journey led her from storytelling to helping women tap into their deepest desires while discovering their divine femininity. Our conversation today is deep, healing, and grown. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the incomparable Annette Freeman, CEO and head mistress of the Goddess Portal. Miss Annette, how are you today? Please welcome to the Black Women Amplified podcast.
Thank you so much, Monica. It is such a pleasure to be here with you. I'm so grateful that you extended the invitation to be with you and your audience.
Thank you for saying yes. We were just chatting offline. She's normally the producer. So we're going to gently ease her into being an interviewee. You have this amazing background. It's so impressive and it's powerful to be a Black woman storyteller. You are a producer and a journalist with an extensive background. What sparked your curiosity or desire to tell the stories of other people?
Well, it goes back to when I was young. My father and I, we bonded over the evening news with Walter Cronkite. People who grew up in the 60s and 70s knew about Walter Cronkite, and that was a way of bonding with Dad to watch the evening news. And so I was always interested in journalism. I was one of those kids that ran home to not watch cartoons, but watch the news. When CBS Sunday Morning started, I think it was in 1977, 78, something like that. I was in high school, and that was my favorite show, CBS Sunday Morning, like a news show. And I've always loved news because I always loved hearing about stories about other people, on how other people lived, what was going on. And I just needed to keep up with current events. And so I've always had that passion for that.
Now, are there other storytellers in your family?
Well, no, I'm pretty much the only one. My parents were from the Caribbean, and my father worked for Pan American Airways,
Oh,
and my
wow.
mother worked for Chemical Bank, which is now morphed into now it's JP Morgan Chase. But no, I was the only person, my first person in my family to get a college degree. And my college degree was actually in psychology. But what was interesting is that I went into business, but gnawing at me to be in television and to do documentaries was always there.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked in corporate America for 12 years. And then I have to leave. I have to go and pursue my passion. So as I was going up the ladder in corporate America, I left and I went back to school. I got accepted to Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism. I was a single mother. I had a 5-year-old at the time, and I got accepted. I couldn't believe it, but I got accepted, and then started my journalism career.
That's amazing. What was it in you that said, because here's the thing, I find that we tend to live the lives that other people think that we should live. What in you said, I have to do this and I'm going to pursue it?
Well, the gnawing was always there.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had a cousin of mine who he actually was in the film business. But the way he got there was very interesting because he lived in Brooklyn. And at the time in the 70s, Dino De Laurentiis, I think it was Dino De Laurentiis, was making a film in Bed-Stuy called The Education of Sonny Carson. And my cousin, who was about 15 or 16 at the time, he was recently brought here to this country from the Dominican Republic. That's where my father's from. So his mother brought him up from the Dominican Republic, and he didn't really speak much English, but he got to be a PA on The Education of Sonny Carson and worked in the field team. And then they liked him so much that they brought him to work as an intern at the Paramount office building at Columbus Circle at the time, and worked for Dino. And then Dino went to California and then brought Hector. So without a real education and then learning the language, my cousin ends up in Hollywood at around 19 years old, working for one of the best producers in the business at the time, Dino De Laurentiis, and he became his projectionist. So when I was growing up, it's like I saw this trajectory of my cousin. And although I never wanted to go to Hollywood per se, the idea of working and seeing the stories in the movies interested me to pursue journalism. But my parents were Caribbean, and they were like, you should be a doctor.
Right.
You should go to school and be a doctor. And so when I went to college, I started in chemistry and I took math, and I was just going to be in biology and be on that science track to be a doctor. And I hated it. So then I decided that I was always really good with people. And so I said, well, if I'm going to be a doctor, maybe I can be like a psychologist. So I left the medical track and went into the psychology track. And I graduated from Howard with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. But even with that psychology, I'd never pursued like a higher education. I got recruited by a company in New York. And then I started working in a public utility because it was like, oh my God, you're going to pay me this amount, and got recruited right out of school. And my grades weren't all that, but there's a job. And so that made my parents happy because I'm graduating out of school. I'm going right into a job. It's with a public utility and you'll have a job for life. And so I satisfied my parents.
From Adams Morgan to Anacostia Park, we all want safer neighborhoods. But what does real safety mean? Real safety means preventing crime before it happens. By having police work with communities to disrupt cycles of violence, by supporting families with stable housing, and providing more mental health and drug treatment. We know that adding more police and locking up more people doesn't make us safer. Real safety means investing in the things that help prevent crime. Learn more at Real Safety DC.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Wills and wishes for me. I was set. I was done. So that was like, I worked there for 12 years and some of it was really good, but that wasn't my passion, Monica. Mm-hmm. That wasn't my passion. And so it did get to a point where it's like, I had to make that move, and I did. I never looked back.
So what was your first entry into journalism?
So my first position was a news associate at NBC News. It's a program for people of color coming out of college, graduate school, because I don't think they take undergrads, coming from graduate school. And you do a year and you get to work in 3 or 4 different news programs at NBC. So when I came in, my first division was I worked in news productions, which was like the documentary division of NBC. Then 4 months later, I got transferred to the Today Show. So I worked a couple months at the Today Show. And within that time, if a department wants to hire you full time, they can do that. So by the time I was with the Today Show, the first department that I worked at wanted to hire me full time. So I got hired out of the program before I finished. And that, again, was a godsend because now I'm full time. Now I've got full benefits. Now I can then start my career at NBC. I had a contract. And so I started in the news productions division, which was their documentary division, a division of Dateline, NBC.
Oh, cool. That's amazing. And you, I mean, you went straight into hard, like traditional news. And you were at a time when news was news, as I say.
It was news.
Before it was
well, let me just,
yeah.
I mean, let me just be real straight up with you. When I graduated I was the class of 2000 and 9/11 was 2001. Mm-hmm. So I had been out of school for a year working in the news division, working in this documentary unit, and then 9/11 happened. And I have to say, like, that day I saw, oh, Annette, you are now a journalist. Because that day I came to work, I had on like a suit, I had on heels that day. And I remember when I got into my office, it was on all the televisions. because I was on the train when it happened. So I got to the office and, we all had it on. Everybody, it was like we all had it on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, because at that time I was an assistant producer. We did documentaries. And so, my senior executive producer, like, got us all together. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm wearing heels. So I went out really fast around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
I went into a store, I bought some sneakers, and I went right back to work and was at work for hours because you couldn't get on the subway. And then I had to realize, like, oh my God, my son, like, he's in school. So at the time, my dad, he was my ex-husband at the time. We really weren't speaking, but I had to make sure that my son was picked up from school. Of course, he picked him up. And I remember not getting home until maybe 3 o'clock in the morning, and then having to be right back at work for weeks on end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful that I had a support system of my aunt, my mother, my dad. They were all there to help me through that situation, because everybody was in work at the time. I mean, it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And being in the news was the most stressful time in my life during that time, because not only was it physically hard because you had to be at work, working on stories nonstop. You had people who were affected in the city, of course, by 9/11. And then you're looking at this footage that you're still in disbelief at what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the smells in the city, you couldn't get away from the smells of the city.
Mm-hmm.
So that really was an eye-opening experience of being a journalist in New York covering 9/11. That really was like, okay, you're in. That's it.
Yeah, you could no longer be working on it. You had to be in it, because not only did you have to manage your own emotions of being a person in this country that just got attacked, you had to tell the stories. And then you had to check the stories, and nobody knew what was going on. I remember it vividly. And I went to New York actually for something Aziz was doing. And I remember walking around and I could still smell it. And I was like, oh my God. I said the smell, and I could still see the soot on the side of the buildings that weren't hit. And I was like, and I just stood in I don't know what street I was on, but I just stood in the street. And New York I'm a Midwesterner, so we're just gonna stand there. And I just remember being like, I can't even fathom what it was like that day or even that week, because I can still smell it.
Right.
And so if I can still smell it, and it's been through snow and rain and all the things, I can't imagine living here and having that memory every time you breathe.
Yeah.
And so, wow, amazing.
Yeah. I went down to Ground Zero a few times just to look, because my job was to go through footage. I was an assistant producer at that time. So assistant producers, you scroll, we tape at the time. So we scroll through tape after tape after tape after tape, logging it. What do you see on that tape? So when you need to give that tape to an editor and a producer and a writer to create the story, they know what shots and where they show up on that tape. So that was my job, to log a lot of that material that was coming in.
You saw much of what we would never see.
You would never see. And that's like for every story that, working in the news business, people give journalists a hard way to go, in the media, a hard way to go, but they shouldn't really, because we can't show you everything. It was one story I told my executive producer, that I wasn't going to work on, that I refused to look at this. And that was when the Al-Qaeda had beheaded that journalist, that Wall Street journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I refuse. I said, I can't watch that. I don't want to see that. I've seen other things like the aftermath of suicide bombings and school shootings and the stuff that you will never see on air because you just can't. But those of us in the office, we have to go through that footage to make sure that you don't see that. Or if you're scrolling through something, people will try to highlight, not go past this point, or else you will see, So working in the news business, it was hard, but was very rewarding because you are the people that gets to take the story from what's happening on the streets and give it to the world. And I was very happy to be a journalist. It was a very fulfilling and a wonderful career. And I'm so grateful that I was able to do it for as many years that I was able to do it.
And you just were able to see, it had to broaden your perspective of the world as a woman in this world, as a Black person in this world, to see all the details of the full scope of a story. So when you when you went into doing documentaries, how important was it to you to get the full scope of a story out? Because I love documentaries. I just finished watching the one about John Baptiste because I like hearing people's beautiful. I love hearing the full scope of a person, of humanity. Did you ever want to go into another area of news like entertainment or finance, or was documentary work your space?
Oh, documentaries were my jam. I watch documentaries on my free time. Documentaries were my life. I love documentaries. That's what I studied really at Columbia. Like you could go into after you took the basic curriculum, you can choose whether you would do news magazine, you do nightly news, or you could do documentaries. And I chose documentaries because I was a documentary fiend.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
I never wanted to go into anything else. Like even working on the Sexy Today show, sexy. I remember like staying like almost all night because my job was to find out what Laura Bush, second term, what was going to be her inauguration dress, right? That was my job for the Today Show. And they needed to be the first people to find what Laura Bush's dress was going to be. So I stayed my shift and then I had to stay later. And then I could get through to the people who would know that information. So I ended up calling I found out who the dress designer was. They were located in this strip mall in Texas. Tried to call them. Phone was busy. Now, remember, there was no cell phones at the time. So I'm just calling. And then I was like, oh, you know what you need to do? You need to find every store in that strip mall. And you need to find somebody that can answer the phone and run to that shop and tell her that the Today Show is calling. So I find somebody. They worked in, I don't know, a cleaners in that strip mall or something. And then I said, would you let her know? And I want you to run there and tell her, give her my number, and I'll be right here. And then she calls me back. The designer calls me back. Finally, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I had been at work since 5 a.m. covering the show that morning. So 5 a.m. and now it's 10 p.m. I'm still at work. Finally get this dress designer to call me. She called me back. I said, are you the designer for Laura Bush's inaugural dress? She said, yes, I am. Good to talk to you. And I said, we would love for you to come on the Today Show to talk about her dress. I know you can't show the dress, but maybe you can show us some designs that she has in mind. She's like, of course, I would love to.
Oh,
Okay. I said, we'll send a crew to you, and we're going to do a satellite, and we'll schedule you for the 7:30 or whatever. After the hard news, it's like 7:30 or 7:45 she'd be on. She's like, great. But I just want to let you know that Good Morning America is going. I told them I would do them first. So you guys are going to be second. So I was like, okay, great. So I hang up. I call the senior producer. I said, I finally got the dress designer on the line. She said she'll do our show, but she's going to do GMA first. Did I get a cussing out that night? What do you mean they're going to do GMA first? They got to do the Today Show. If they don't do the Today Show first, we don't want her. Call her back and tell her it's fine. I was like, oh my God. I got home that evening at like midnight. I crawled in. My son was sleeping. I was like, I'm home. Luckily, my aunt lived upstairs, so he was with my aunt.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, I am not going to spend my career doing this. I'm not. It sounds sexy. Today Show, celebrities, and all of that. But you know what? That's not my interest. And that's when I said yes to the documentary unit.
I mean, the violence that would have come out of me in that moment. And to have to suppress that level of violence that would have come out of me in that moment, I applaud you, because I promise I'd have been in his front door.
Right. Right. Oh my God. I was like, what? I got her on the line. She'll just come on after GMA. That wasn't good enough. And that's what made the Today Show back then. It did. Yes. It just
that's how you got number one.
Right. It was Kadick, Matt Lauer, Al, and Ann Curry.
The dream team.
Yeah, the dream team.
Mm-hmm. So you have worked in the documentary world, and you have done something that I'm super curious about. I'm curious about all things Obama. So please tell us about Inside the Obama White House with Brian Williams.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. What an experience that was. That was really an amazing experience. So I was approached by the specials team in NBC. Inside the Obama White House was a full-on NBC specials production. And that means that they chose producers in different units to work on that team. I mean, I was on a team of about 100 people. However, as a producer, there were 12 of us as producers. And then the rest of the team, of course, were like the associate producers, the assistants, the crew. And so I was asked as part of the unit. I was the only one in my unit that was asked. They took people from the news, they took people from Dateline, they took people from the Today Show, and assembled a crew with Brian Williams, plus Brian Williams' team, to go into the White House. So I'm so excited about this. And so we had our briefing meetings, and we then ascended onto the White House grounds. The day before, we had to get, of course, the Secret Service passes and all of that. And then we all met there in the White House briefing room as a team, and we were given our assignments. And so as a producer, my assignment was to cover Valerie Jarrett's area and the White House counsel area, Greg Craig. Every producer had a particular assignment. So Brian Williams' producer covered the president. Other producers covered other areas in the White House. And then after we did the shooting, we came back to New York and assembled a 2-hour show that aired over 2 days in 36 hours. So we were at the White House on a Friday where we shot. we came back to New York on trains Friday evening. Saturday and Sunday, we spent writing and editing, and the show aired, I think, that Monday and Tuesday. So that meant that we were putting together a 2-hour show in a matter of a couple of days, which is unheard of. It's just, we were slamming it. And so every producer had a particular act that they would write. Mm-hmm. And that's how it was broken down so the show could get completed. And so my area to write was when he went into Five Guys and like Brian Williams and him get in the Beast at the White House, mm-hmm. and they drive to Five Guys and he gets out the car and the crowd wild. They're like,
rock star.
So, right. So when I tell people, they were like, oh yeah, inside the Obama White House. I said, yeah, the piece that I wrote was him going into Five Guys. And they were like, oh, I remember that. I remember seeing that. So it was an amazing, amazing experience. Be in the White House, to be a Black woman on the team, mm-hmm. covering the first Black president and his administration for a major network.
I'm literally getting chills as you're saying this because I would have bust out crying at one point.
Yep. That's how it was. Mm-hmm. It was like, I couldn't believe that I get to be here at this particular time in history. Mm. And another thing about being a Black woman at that time covering the Obama White House was before he was elected, there was the primaries, and we didn't have a documentary made about Obama at the time. At the time, people figured it was going to be a Hillary, John McCain scenario. And this Barack Obama was kind of like, he's mm-hmm. coming out of kind of nowhere. He's a senator and it's great, but people were on the Hillary team if you were a Democrat. And mm-hmm. if you were a Republican, you were on the John McCain team. So Barack Obama wins Iowa. And our news division goes crazy because we now start to realize this guy is in contention and we have no background on him. There's no documentary, there's no historical anything that the news division had put together. Now, if you know news divisions, they usually will have, like, mm-hmm. you wonder, how do they get those, like, when somebody passes away, how do they get those documentaries about them out so fast?
Right.
It's already done. Mm. They only put on a new top and a new bottom, but the rest is there. So you have already something about Hillary. You already have something about John McCain. You already have stuff around people who you kind of feel is going to be in the news. Mm-hmm. We had nothing on Obama. So I was asked to be part of this team to put together the first documentary about his life. And here's how it came in to be wonderful to be a Black woman, is that I went to school.
With TikTok ads, our revenue went up $10 million year over year during back to school season. Penn Foster is online education. TikTok is great because the reach is incredible for finding a lot of different types of audiences on the platform. Creator content at scale allowed us to easily develop and distribute creator-led ads. Our return on ad spend for TikTok is 21% higher than the next best channel.
Start growing your business today. Head over to getstarted.tiktok.com/TikTok ads.
With Santita Jackson, who I had heard through the grapevine was Michelle Obama's maid of honor. And Santita and I went to Howard together. Now, mm-hmm. I hadn't spoken to Santita in a while, since college. And now we're in 2008. Mm-hmm. I call her up and I say, hey, I heard that you were Michelle Obama's maid of honor. I'm doing a documentary on Barack Obama, and I would love you to be a part of it. And she said, Annette, I've got to make some phone calls, but because I know you from Howard and I know you treat this with the most utmost of integrity and professionalism, I'm going to do it. So she gave me the first interview that was ever done about Michelle and Barack from an insider's perspective. And no one at the time had known, really, unless you were on the inside, that they were so close, that her and Michelle went to school together. I think Michelle's dad used to drive them to school. They were best friends. And so people in the news division didn't even know. And so it became like, oh, Annette knows something. She's got some intel.
We're all cousins.
So yeah, we're all cousins.
That is amazing.
It was that HBCU connections. And it is true. We treated that documentary with the utmost professionalism, the utmost care. It was very well done. We had to do it in a very short amount of time. But I think they're selling it in the NBC Experience store today.
And it's so interesting because I can always tell when I'm watching something if a Black person did it, because the differences are there that other people miss. And how we look at each other, just an inflection in our mouth or how we move our neck. Other people would miss that, but it's important to our culture because we have such a strong nonverbal communication.
Right.
That I can always tell, I'm like, Black girl didn't do this one.
Yes.
Our Black man didn't do this one. This is somebody else. That's beautiful. I mean, and that's amazing. And the fact that you all trusted each other because you had that shared experience of HBCU, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that.
Yep.
Ever feel overwhelmed prioritizing everyone but yourself? What if you could build confidence, set boundaries, and say yes to you? Discover the superpower of self-love with the Self-Love Amplified Masterclass. It's not just about self-discovery, it's about your inner strength. Ready to say yes? Visit www.blackwomenamplified.com/masterclass. You don't want to miss out. Write it down. www.blackwomenamplified.com/masterclass. Now, your career from journalism, are you still doing documentaries?
I am, but not for like a network. Like I'm doing I'm a consulting producer now on a documentary on Minnie Evans. She is a Black woman folk artist, as they say, from the South. And her story is so powerful. She lived here in Wilmington. She got messages to draw or die as she was a gatekeeper for a white family here in Wilmington. And so she's now getting some recognition from the arts community because of her work is transcendent. And so I'm a consulting producer on that documentary. But other than that, I've really kind of stepped away from television and that life.
And you have stepped into a whole new world.
I have.
You and I met in Detroit. I don't know if it was New York or Detroit, but I do remember us being at a conference together, Circles of Light.
Right.
And that was such an amazing experience. And you and I both hang out in the non-traditional areas of life, especially for Black folk. And at a time when other people were not in it. A lot of people are in it now. And I love that the conversation is so mainstream now. But back in the day, to go to that conference and see so many people that look like us there was it was an amazing experience. When did that journey of that type of studying begin for you?
Oh, I was young. I fell into spirituality at a young age. I was brought up Methodist, but my minister was one of those new agey kind of ministers. And so we were doing like those trust falls and trust walks and having conversations about beyond religion from the time I was in junior high school. So by the time I got to high school, I had become a leader in the youth movement of my church conference. But the kinds of stuff that we talked about involved God, of course, but it went beyond that. And I remember, we would have speakers come in to talk about transcendental meditation. We had a camp in upstate New York. And so I led that camp. And I remember bringing in like Mr. Transcendental Meditation. And there we are, like 16 years old, and we're like doing transcendental meditation in the barn. And then I brought in an abortion advocate to talk about abortion and what that meant. And I was always in that work. And so by the time I got to Circles of Light, it was like opening up more realms of information that I was yearning for. And I loved it. And I would take the information that I learned in that group into work. Like I would have my Course in Miracles book on my desk, and I'm not hiding it. People would know. They were like, I would go into like meetings with my boss, and I would have like a folder, and I would have the course in there with me, just like, all right, I don't know what it's about to say, but I'm going to need this with me. Like he wouldn't see it, but I would have it with me. Like it was like part of my research.
Right.
So I studied and I incorporated it into my life.
I know for many people that are listening, it's an either or situation, but you integrated it into your life. What was it that you said, this is just who I am, take it or leave it? And you just, like you said, you took it to work, you took it in meetings, you took who you were with you, and you didn't leave her at home and then take somebody else out of the door. Where did you get that from?
I think it's because I don't want to speak for you, but it's like, it's part of my makeup. How and why I was put here, I think, on the planet, to make those that it's not either or, it's all. Because I am all. We are all. And I knew the information was helpful in my life. I brought it with me so I wouldn't lose it.
Right.
With folk.
Right.
That I would show up as much as I could as a loving, embracing human being in this experience of life. I brought it for others. So I would treat them with kindness and non-judgment and all of that. Because that's how I wanted the world to work for me. So if I'm learning this in these books, how can I be learning it and not instituting it in my life? Because it was one thing about sometimes we can become very insular and like only work it with the people that we know and with the language. But I always found that I've got to put it out there in the ether because this is how I want humanity to run. So if it doesn't start with me, who does it start with? I'm the only one that has control over how I am, who I am, and how I'm being. That's it. I can't control you. I can't control anything, but I can control me. And if I can show up at a meeting and I can be a complete channel and hear you out without judgment and just have you be who you are and I be who I am, it makes a difference incrementally in the news business. And people will tell you even now, like after I've left, there's people who I have interacted with and I have met, and I become unforgettable. I'd be like, oh yeah, remember that producer? They don't know my name, but they know they would remember the experience they had with me. And that goes for when I showed up at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg at a school shooting, right after a school shooting. I was sent down there to do a story and bring back footage for a documentary we're doing, and how I show up with victims and their parents. It makes a difference.
It does make a difference because you see them, not the idea of them. You see the people, and that helps them open up to you, and it builds a trust factor. But more of that, you have integrity with your work. You're not being one way just to get the story. You were just truly curious and open to whatever they feel like sharing. And so that makes your storytelling much stronger and more impactful because it's the truth. It's the honesty.
It's the honest truth. Right. I'm not trying to.
You're not trying to be a producer. You are telling a story.
I'm a person. I'm a human being. And I'm a human being that whose work is to tell your story. How did it affect you? What did you see? What did you notice in that way? There's some people who go down and it's like, oh yeah, I got this, make sure you get this main person, make sure you get this. And they come back with all the right elements, all the right ones, and they get promoted and because they always come back with the right ones. Most of the time I come back with the stories that will resonate with people.
That's powerful.
And so I may come back with 3 interviews. Other people come back with 9. I spent a little bit more time. Their parents want to be involved. I had to wait a little bit because they were on the phone with their grandparents. So I come back with 3 interviews, but they're good instead of 9, whatever.
And now
I'm no longer doing that.
I'm done with that.
I can look myself in the mirror every day because I went to work with the best of intentions and my heart was in every story, every single one of them.
You left yourself wherever you were. That's why when people see you, they're like, oh my God. Because you touched deeper than you didn't just tell a story, you told their story.
Exactly.
Now you are working to help women transform their stories with the power of pleasure. You have not only done the work with yourself, and you can talk a little bit about that, but you have moved into your own company, your own business.
My own business.
The Goddess Portal. Tell us about the Goddess Portal.
Oh, definitely. Thanks for asking. So the Goddess Portal is a coaching, a movement, and an events company that educates professional women in the art of pleasure. And it helps them to know themselves really deeply at a deep, deep level in order to manifest their greatest and their deepest desires. And we help women unlock and unleash their authentic selves. And so they can tap into their gifts. And so they can show up powerfully in their personal and in their professional lives and in the world. And people are like, how do you do that? What are you talking about? What are you talking about when you say that?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a complete 180 from what we think about how to manifest our desires and to go after our goals or whatever. Through pleasure? What? I have to say that it came as a complete brain for me to learn this and to experience it and put it into practice like I've done my entire life and to see what my life looked like before and what it looks like now. So I come with that inner knowing because I've done it. I continue to do it and how it's the things that have come out and manifested in my life and how quickly things manifest is really, it's beyond me. And so I'm teaching it. Because I want all women to learn what it means to live a life through pleasure.
So when you talk about pleasure, the first thing that comes to top of mind is sex and sexuality. Is this something, when you speak of pleasure, is it something just beyond the physical experience and sexuality? Is it about a 180 lifestyle change, or is it, and when you say through pleasure, what do you mean by that?
Yes. And thanks for asking that really great question. When people think of pleasure, they think of sex and having sex with somebody else and all the ways that they can have it. And they sometimes they think like I teach technique and stuff like that. And that has nothing to do with this. Pleasure for women is an area about how do you live from turn on. And what I mean by turn on is like when a woman is turned on, she is in her flow. So you can get turned on by touching yourself. You can get turned on by self-pleasure. You can get turned on by a man doing it, helping you, stroking you. You can get turned on by just taking your finger and rolling it down the side of your arm till your elbow and feeling what that feeling feels like. You can get turned on by watching an adult movie. You can get turned on by sitting in a bath and rubbing and touching yourself. I mean, turn on is when a woman feels herself and her yoni produces that fluid, which we say when she's wet. It's that feeling inside when you feel her and you tune into her. And some women have forgotten what that even feels like. And I liken it to, like, remember when you were young and there was a guy and you saw him, say, across campus, and you were like, oh my God, it's so-and-so. Or you saw a woman who you just thought she was so beautiful, and you're like, oh, I want to go out with her. And something happened in your yoni, in your vagina, and it started to come alive and get on fire. And then, like, when you start kissing someone, before you even go into anything else, it's that feeling of turn on that is pleasure. That's what I'm talking about. And then when you're turned on, you know when you're turned off. So when you're turned on, if you start making decisions based on whether you're turned on or not, will then lead you to a life of turn on. And if you make decisions just based on, like, you're turned off, but you're just like, okay, so this checks the box, this checks the box, this checks the box. Okay, I think I'll go there. I check the box. Great. It doesn't seem very pleasurable. But if checking those boxes makes you turned on, I say go for it. So that is what I'm talking about, is making your life so that the decisions that you make in your life comes from pleasure, and it can be done. And I teach tools. They're real tools that can help access that. I want to just say this, if I can, because this is my mantra, is taken from the Course in Miracles, because this is really what the art of pleasure and moving from pleasure is really about. And I hope, if it's okay, I'd love to read it to you.
Go ahead.
So the goddess portal is the gateway to pleasure and desire. Its courses and tools do not aim at teaching the meaning of pleasure and desire, for that is beyond what can be taught. Each woman is free to chart her own pathway to what truly brings her bliss. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of pleasure, which is her inheritance, that she may manifest and experience her truest and deepest desires. So that's what I do, is to remove the blocks to the pleasure and the desire that's already there.
So when you're doing your work, what are some of the blocks that you're coming across that people are saying that they're dealing with, or that's keeping them from fully getting into the flow of the pleasure that you're speaking of?
That's a good question. Some of it comes from, say, a person goes through, like, say, a relationship breakup, right? They're broken up with somebody, and they go to their girlfriends, and like you would, and you just kind of talking it out with them. But that doesn't seem to, it helps a little bit, but like you go home and you're still next to your bed on your knees crying. Then they're like, okay, so you seem to be, this is distressing you too much. Why don't you might want to go see somebody, like a therapist, right? So you go to therapists and you talk it out, and they give you ways to handle and stuff like that. And that's great, but you're still talking about it. What we do is we give you actual tools that doesn't give you advice, but allows you to move through your emotions in a way that takes them through your body and out. into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So what we found and what I found, I'll talk for myself in my life. I was dealing in a relationship for a number of years, and this man told me that I was too old. No harsher words have ever been said to a woman, that she's too old. I had that tick in my head for most of my late 40s and early 50s, because I was 48 at the time. And it hurt me so deeply, more than I could have even realized. It prevented me from dating anymore, even though people were like, oh, oh, you're going out. Yeah. And I would be like, yeah, I'm fine. But that tick was in my head. I'm too old. And it just stuck there until I went to the School of Women's Arts and I learned this technique called spring cleaning. And spring cleaning allowed me to get out that tick to where I can now feel myself, be more accepting of myself, tap into my turn on so that I could move past that trauma into looking at my life in a different way. And that happened in like a couple of months. So I've had this tick for years. Mm-hmm. And within a couple of months of actively doing this particular tool and some others, which I'll explain, I could move past that person saying that to me and me taking it on like it was the truth. And I didn't need any advice from anybody. I didn't need pills, drugs, alcohol. What I needed to do was hear myself. And as I heard myself and was received in a judge-free, confidential environment by another sister, I was able to heal that within me so I can move on to another relationship. If I had stayed without this work, I would have still been in that mindset. Mm-hmm. You're too old, Annette. Just go over there and sit down. You're an old Black woman. Who's going to want you? And I didn't want that for myself. And so anyone who's listening to that, if anything has ever happened like that to you, you know how horrible it feels to have that over and over and over and over and over in your head and can't get it out. So yeah, that's one of the tools.
It's like it becomes this movie that plays in your head, and trauma colors everything that you do. Mm-hmm. Because you see the trauma before you see the opportunity. The opportunity is there, but you look at it through the lens of your trauma. And if you don't clear that, you won't see the opportunity, whatever the opportunity is. That's what people need to understand about trauma, is it colors every decision you make in your life, from the color of lipstick that you wear, the clothes that you wear, to the friends that you have, to the job that you take. It is such a powerful monster, and it speaks for you. And so I just clarifying this for the audience. So what you're saying is that you go in with your work and you deal with the monster so that people can feel free.
Exactly.
And the ultimate goal of it is freedom. And for Black women, we have such compounded trauma, because it's not only our personal experiences, it's experiences of living in the society, and it's generational.
Right.
So we have it coming from all areas. And once you have the trauma, then you're triggered. And so what Annette is saying is that this is a method beyond what you hear about that can help you deal with those monsters that color your life so that you can be free. And so tell us about other methodologies that you use within your work that help people get free.
Oh, sure. Another big one is called the swamp. And a swamp for me was similar, that same tick. And also for me was generational. So when a person's there in a swamp, it's something that like they're having a hard time dealing with something. Mm-hmm. They're having a really difficult time, say with rage, like somebody at work is always bullying them and they don't know how to get back at that person, or they don't know what to do with themselves. They could have a hard time with their significant other, but they don't want to lash out at them, or they do lash out at them all the time. It's an area where they're having a really difficult time that brings up rage and anger. A person that might have a difficult time with grief that they can't seem to let go, sadness or worry. And so we have this tool called swamping. And a woman will identify what her swamp is. What is it that's causing you such grief or rage? She'll write it down. And then we go through movements with music to move that energy out of her body. Mm-hmm. So we'll swamp with a rage song. We'll get pillows or objects and bang them on the floor. We'll scream. We'll let loose in that rage. We'll kick. We'll punch. We'll press against the walls of the floor and move that energy. Then another song. And it's more of a grief or a sad song. And we let the woman experience that emotion in that time. Now, we would want to stay in those emotions a lot of the times, or we won't want to go deep into those emotions because we think if we go deep into our rage, we will never come out of it. Mm-hmm. But the transformational, alchemical thing to do after we experience those emotions is turn on. It is turn on that will release you from those emotions. And so after we've played a rage song, a sad or grief song, we'll put on some sexy music and let a woman turn herself on by moving in a sensual way, touching herself, enjoying herself, playing with herself to that song. And I'm telling you, there's nothing out there like this. It is amazing to see someone go into the swamp having such an emotional roller coaster with the same issue. Mm-hmm. And then after she's turned on, it's like another person. Mm-hmm. But the hardest thing to do is go from those dark and deep emotions to the turn on, because it's not natural, but it is natural. It's natural for a woman. It is natural for us. That is the issue sometimes when we get, especially when we start getting older, and it's like, oh, we don't have a partner, or nobody wants me, or blah, blah, blah. And we just start shutting down. And when we start shutting down, guess what? Our juices dry up. And when our juices start to dry up, we start to get stiff. And then we start to just being a little bit less flexible. And we start saying no more often. And so we start shutting down our lives. But it is the turn on. It is the flow of the woman that is going to keep us viable and fun and sexy and flexible, so we can go after our desires, no matter how old we are, no matter what we've been through.
You introduce people to themselves.
Mm-hmm. And areas that they may have forgotten or never tapped into because of the shame. Because, oh no, I can't touch my vagina. I can't self-pleasure. Or if I do, I feel so much shame around it. I'm touching mine right now.
Well, all right.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. See how much fun it is? It's so much fun.
You know, it's a beautiful thing because God gave us a whole body, and society said you can only focus on a couple of parts of it.
Yeah.
And because of that idea, we begin to oppress ourselves with that feeling of shame that you're talking about. So women meet themselves, many for the very first time. Beautiful process. And it's what a calling on your life. What a calling on your life to not only do the work for yourself, but to just say, I want everybody to have this work. That's beautiful. I really want you to talk about the power of the divine feminine, because we get so stuck in terms and the understanding of what femininity is and what the divine feminine is and what feminism is. And I really like for people who are in this work to help us understand the distinctions, because I feel one is from society and one is about us meeting ourselves. So continue on, and if you can get into it.
Yeah, thank you. We're like on the same path wavelength, because I was going to talk about that. I was going to talk about the spirituality and sexuality, spirituality and sensuality. We've learned to separate those two.
Right.
We've been taught it's like the Mary and the Mary. There was the Mary who was the prostitute, Mary who was the mother. And either you're the mother or you're the whore. We're both. We're it all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the divine feminine comes in, is that we don't have to push to get our needs met. We just need to be whole and authentic and turned on. We need to find our power within every single cell of our body. We've been co-opted saying that our vagina is only for a man's pleasure, or objectifying our vagina and our breasts for his enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
Or we dress to impress or try to do our other women. We get into that ridiculous competition game around who's better looking and who's thinner enough and who's blah, 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 blah. As women, we are beautiful in all our iterations on the planet. And that's what the divine feminine is all about, is finding our power from within and using what we've been given, our turn on, to enhance our lives. We used to turn over our turn on to only those times when with somebody, or, maybe we're trying to impress and go out to an event and, we could try to be sexy. But what if we were just sexy and sensual all the friggin' time for ourselves?
Right.
All the time. You show up on a call and you're like, hey,
right,
how y'all doing? Okay, we're going to start the Zoom meeting now. Okay, why don't we play music first? Stuff that would actually bring women joy and pleasure. What if we did that? So that's what I'm introducing, is the stuff that brings us pleasure. First, we have to know pleasure. That's another thing. You ask women, what pleases them or what their desires are. Many can't even tell you. So first, what we do is we go in with a woman and we find where her pleasure centers lie. What brings her pleasure for real? Because if you don't know what pleases you, how can you ask for that or encourage or manifest that if you don't even know? So that's number one. And then we then allow her to then just find herself with these tools, removing the blocks, getting out the grief, not getting it out, but anytime grief does come with you, guess what? You have a tool that you can use that would help move the emotions through. If you're stuck on something, somebody pissed you off today, you can spring clean about it. You're not asking for advice. You're not asking for somebody to just sit down and fix it for you. You have the answers within yourself. So with the spring clean, you can do that, because in a spring clean, which I didn't share, it's a completely confidential space. The person who is receiving the information, they say nothing except for thank you. And at the end of it, it's gone. You never bring it up again. You never talk about the subject with the woman. It's gone. So, these tools, and there's so many more, they work.
How did you find that these tools, because you said you did the work with Mama Gina,
Mm-hmm.
what bloomed in you when you got into this work?
Well, the first thing was when I first saw her and experienced this work, I was like, oh my God, where has this been? And I was so gone. Like like somebody said, Annette, how are you doing? Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Everything is good. I'm smiling. Hey, everything's good. And on the outside, seriously, you would think that everything was really cool, but on the inside, I was really empty. So when I heard and experienced this, I was like all in, like all in. I had no more frigs to give because I had reached my pinnacle. Like, okay, I had worked at NBC. I had done the career of my dreams. I won an Emmy. I had a beautiful son. He is going to college. I mean, like you would think that all those things would have just been enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that there was more.
Right.
And when I heard Mama Gina talk and I heard the testimonials of the women and I saw the women, I saw them. I saw the difference in their eyes. I saw the difference in the way they walked. I saw the difference in the way that they spoke. It was authentic. The light was coming from within. Didn't matter what they had on. The light was coming from within.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I want that. Whatever she has, I want that. I remember when I went to Miami, because Mama Gina used to have big in-person events. She came in the Miami Convention Center riding a horse with 6 men, shirtless, hunky men next to her. She had on a mini skirt with feathers and no panties. And I was like, who is she? I love her already. Because when a woman is turned on, you can tell she doesn't care about what you think about her.
Mm-hmm.
She knows who she is. She loves herself, really. And you can't take that away from her. And she's powerful. And that's what I got. My life is really different, Monica. I'm living in a beautiful place in North Carolina. I'm looking out over a river, which is right outside my living room window. My partner, who courted me at 55 years old, told me, said, Annette, if you move with me here, you don't have to work. And for someone who was a single mother, Caribbean, worked 2-3 jobs, a journalist in the news business, working my ass off, someone for me to vibrate in a way that I have attracted a man who loves and adores me, says to me, I'm going to take you out of New York and you don't have to work. That was 5 years ago. And I have been having the time of my life.
A round of applause for him. Yes, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Hercules. That is so beautiful. I mean, that's freedom. That is freedom because you feel safe. And for Black women, it is so hard for us to feel safe.
Yeah.
So for someone to provide a space for you to be yourself says a lot about him as a person, just as a human being. But it also says something about, it's a testament to the work that you have been doing. Because it's not something that you were looking for. You just knew that you deserved better, but you didn't know what better was going to look like. So you just did the work.
Right.
And this is what you manifested. You did the work and this is what manifested. So you're a testament of the work that you do.
Exactly. I didn't know. So one of the things that we say in this work is when a woman says her desire, we say, and so shall it be, or something even better, way beyond your wildest dreams, to affirm what she has said. And it's true. This is my so shall it be. And it's also in something even better, because this was way beyond my wildest dreams. I did the work. I took on this work like it was a PhD program. I was in it for the study. I did the work. I did the tools. I created sisterhood within the women in which I do create sisterhood and community, so women can do these tools together. And it's not just me. There are hundreds of thousands of women who have gone through this kind of training. And Mama Gina has only opened this up for her students, some of her students, to teach. So there's only 50 of us around the world that can teach these tools besides her. And she's no longer doing anything in person. And she's also doing things like overseas. Like right now, she's in Morocco. So I'm taking these tools to the people, to our people, to Black women, because I know it works. And we need to be shored up, especially in these days and times, because we have big fights ahead of us. We have big fights on us. And if we don't stay healthy, turned on, we're not going to be able to fight the fight. Mm-hmm. So I'm tapping into an area that we haven't looked to do to find our power. Tapping into that area where that would have gone crying about some man somewhere or some woman somewhere, or we've shut her down because we're in the fight. We can't think about that right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying we've got to. Right. We have got to. We need to say, wake up, because we need more power here to get through what we're facing. And so this work is not just kind of trivial to turn yourself on, which is beautiful, but it's to turn yourself on so you can access more power.
Exactly. The only thing I can say is that's power, because the biggest thing that you teach is that we have a choice, because most people feel when they get to a certain age that this is just how it's going to be. And this is just how it is, because that's what our parents taught us. And the truth of the matter is we always have a choice. And you are showing people a different choice that they may have never thought of before, but it puts you into a place of just pure personal power, which connects us to the divine, it connects us to the universe, and it connects us to each other. Right. So I love what you're doing now. I love how your work has evolved. I have, watched you from afar, and I get to see bits and pieces of it, but to hear the full breadth of what you're doing and the full arc of your story is just absolutely beautiful, because it's not even about a second chapter. People talk about, I'm on a second chapter. It's like, no, you're evolving into yourself, which is a different experience, because we, as Black women, are often told that we don't deserve for a man to take care of us the way that we want a man to take care of us. That we don't deserve to not work. We have to work hard. Like, Bell Hooks calls us the mule of society. So when you can move into a space of power, manifestation, and ease, let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Right. Mm-hmm. And now I'm working because I want to work. I love to work. Mm-hmm. And I love this work. That's the thing. I love this work. And I get to do this work. And, there are other women who have done all kinds of other stuff with this work. There are women who I know who they were rich women. One rich woman that I'd met in the program, and she used to give her money away to lovers here and there. Just, he'd find, they'd get involved in a relationship and like, oh, he wants to start a business. And so she's giving the money away to that person. And she came into this work, and she's like, she made other choices. And so a choice that she made was she had family who was produced on Broadway. And instead of giving her money away to some lover, she's decided for the first time that she was going to invest in a play. That play ended up going on to Broadway and then winning a Tony. So it's
what's the name of the play?
I can't say. because I can't,
I
can't tell you. I'm saying a story that was something that, was
Yes, I
in,
understand.
we have confidentiality, but it ended up winning a Tony. And it's over the last, I've been in this work for 9 years. So it's one of those best picture. But that's to say that this work, when you say a desire, and so shall it be, or something even better, way beyond your wildest dreams. Once you start removing the blocks to your awareness of pleasure, which the tools do, you don't know what's going to unlock for you that will be the exact thing that you needed to catapult you to your desires.
Well, thank you.
That's what this work does.
That is absolutely beautiful. I don't know what more we could say right now about all of this. It's a lot to take in because for many people, this is a new conversation. And I just want to thank you for sharing your entire story and to see, like I said, to see the arc of what you've done and what you're doing. In all of it, you have been true to yourself, which is in itself is powerful. And I think that Mama Gina just gave you new language for what you already knew within yourself. So before we conclude our beautiful conversation, I could talk to you forever. What is one thing that people can do at home? What is one question that a woman could ask herself to start her journey of finding herself?
That's a good question. I would say this. If a woman, when she's on the phone, or when she wakes up in the morning, or she goes to bed at night, or any time during the day, just take your hand and cup your vagina. Just cup her. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to make any moves. You just put your hand on her to let her know that she's not forgotten, to let her know that you're giving her attention, to let her know that you love her. And she doesn't have to do anything. And then see how your day goes, or see how that conversation goes, because they can't see you. So just see. So that's what I'll offer.
Well, Miss Annette Freeman, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. I am glowing. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I think for us, we need a journey of liberation like none before. And I love everything that you're talking about. So how can people find out about your work or how to get in touch with you?
Sure. So my website is goddessportalcoaching.com. I have it's a simple website. There's an area to book a call. I have free discovery calls. I have a in-person workshop that's coming up in January, which is also available through that website. It's happening in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I also have a virtual course offering similar to the in-person that's also available on that website for you to find out. But set up a call with me. I'd just love to talk about it. And just, you don't have to sign up for anything. Just call, because I love talking about this work.
Well, thank you again. And thank you for saying yes to your calling. I've been in conversation about calling with my friends, and it's a lot of us are getting called to do something different, and we all don't understand it. So for you to say yes lets me know that you're a leader in this, and people can trust that what you do works because you've shown it in your own life. Yeah. So thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. And I appreciate all of this. And the Black Women Amplified family, please share this conversation with your girls. It's something that we all need to hear. And open your heart when you listen, and listen with your heart, because we are having our own renaissance now. And we need all of the tools in our toolkit to fully be liberated from everything everybody told us that we were, so that we can be the person that we were born to be. So thank you all for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Black Women Amplified. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to subscribe and log on to blackwomenamplified.com for more information. Keep shining.